Everyone says the same thing. If you're poor, you just need to budget better. If you stopped buying coffee, you'd be fine. If you really wanted to save, you would. But here's the uncomfortable question no one wants to ask. What if most people on low incomes are not bad with money, but trapped inside a system that quietly prevents saving? Because if saving money were simply about discipline, then why do millions of people who work full-time, avoid luxuries, and track every expense still end each month at zero? Why does saving feel impossible, even when people are doing everything right? This video is not about tips you've already heard. It's not about cutting coffee or skipping avocado toast. This is the story of why saving on a low income feels like fighting gravity. Where that gravity came from, how it intensified over time, where it breaks people, why most solutions fail, and most importantly, how real people still manage to save anyway. Not through motivation, but through strategy. To understand how to save money on a low income, we must first understand why saving became so hard in the first place. And that story begins long before your paycheck ever arrived. Part 1. Setting the stage. How saving used to work. There was a time when saving money was normal, even for low-income workers. In the mid-20th century, factory workers, shop clerks, and service employees often earned modest wages, yet still saved, not because they were smarter, not because they were more disciplined, but because the financial system around them was built differently. The old equation for decades, personal finance, followed a simple equation. Income necessities equals savings. Housing consumed a manageable portion of income. Healthcare was often employer-covered or affordable. Education didn't require lifelong debt. Transportation costs were lower. Credit was limited, but that was a feature, not a flaw. Saving wasn't heroic. It was automatic. And when people struggled, they didn't blame themselves. They blamed circumstances. But that equation slowly broke. Part 2. Origins. When the system began to shift, the shift didn't happen overnight. It happened quietly, piece by piece. Housing costs detached from wages. Housing used to track wages. Then speculation entered the market. Real estate became an investment vehicle instead of shelter. Rents rose faster than incomes. Down payments became impossible. People began spending 30%, then 40%, then 50% of income just to exist. Saving was no longer what happened after bills. It became something you hoped might happen someday. The rise of consumer credit. Credit cards expanded in the 1970s and 80s. They were marketed as freedom, but they rewired behavior. Instead of adjusting life to income, people were encouraged to smooth discomfort with debt. Emergencies stopped being moments to save for and became moments to borrow through. Interest quietly replaced savings as the system's profit engine. Wages stagnated, productivity soared. Corporate profits exploded. But wages stayed flat. So when people today say, just save more, they ignore a key fact. You can't save what you don't have. Part 3. The rise. How low-income saving became a daily battle as costs rose and income stagnated. Saving didn't disappear. It transformed. Saving became psychological warfare. Scarcity tax. When money is tight, the brain changes. Every decision feels urgent. Every mistake feels fatal. Long-term planning shuts down. This isn't weakness. It's neuroscience. Scarcity forces people into survival mode, where saving feels dangerous because cash equals safety right now. Irregular income. Low-income earners are more likely to have Variable hours, gig work, seasonal employment, delayed payments. Traditional budgeting assumes stable income, but saving on unstable income requires an entirely different playbook. One. Yeah. Part 4. The breaking point. When saving feels impossible, this is where most people give up. An emergency hits. A medical bill arrives. A car breaks down. Savings vanish or never existed. And here's the cruel paradox. The poorer you are, the more expensive life becomes. No savings, payday loans, no credit, higher deposits, no buffer, higher stress, worse decisions. Saving feels pointless when the system punishes you for trying. So people stop trying. Part 5. Failed fixes. Why most advice doesn't work? Let's talk about bad advice. Just budget better. Budgeting without slack is just tracking failure. If your income barely covers survival, budgeting doesn't equate money, it only documents the shortage. Cut small luxuries. This advice misunderstands human behavior. Tiny joys are often the only emotional relief people have. Removing them rarely creates meaningful savings, but it increases burnout. Earn more. Earn more. Yes, income matters, but this ignores structural barriers. Childcare costs, transportation, health, time, poverty. Most people aren't lazy. They're exhausted. Part 6. The real turning point. How saving actually works on low income. Here's the truth. Most financial gurus won't say. Saving on a low income is not about percentages. It's about buffers. The first goal is not savings. It's stability. Before investing, before retirement, before big goals, you need one thing, a shock absorber. Even $100 changes behavior. Even $500 changes stress. Even 1 month of expenses changes decisions. Saving works when it's framed as defense, not growth. Part 7. Modern parallels. Repeating patterns and shocking data today. Over 60% of people live paycheck to paycheck, nearly half can't cover a $400 emergency. Low-income households pay the highest effective interest rates. This isn't new. History shows the same pattern. Costs rise, credit expands, savings vanish. Blame shifts to individuals. The system repeats itself, unless people adapt strategically. Part 8. The strategies that actually work. CAUSE gives effect. Strategy 1. Reverse budgeting. Instead of saving what's left, remove savings first, even if it's tiny. $5 counts. Consistency rewires identity. Strategy 2. Income smoothing. Treat good months as normal. Treat bad months as expected. Build buffers during highs to survive lows. Strategy 3. Friction removal makes saving automatic and spending slightly harder. Human behavior follows convenience. Strategy 4. Separate survival from progress. One account for bills, one account for buffer, one account for goals. Mental separation matters more than math. Part 9. The fallout of not saving and why this matters without savings. People stay in bad jobs. People accept unfair treatment. People delay health care. People stay trapped. Savings isn't about money. It's about options. Conclusion 3. Takeaways. A warning and a call to action. 3 takeaways. 1. Saving on a low income is a system problem, not a character flaw. 2. Small buffers change behavior more than big goals. 3. Strategy beats motivation every time. A warning. If we keep blaming individuals for systemic scarcity, the problem will deepen, not disappear. An open-ended thought. What would change in your life if money stopped being an emergency every day? Call to action. If this video challenged how you think about saving, share it with someone who's been blaming themselves. And if you want the next video, where we break down exact step-by-step systems real low-income households use to build savings quietly, subscribe. Because saving money isn't about being perfect. It's about building leverage in a system that wasn't built for you.